What is good, people? Welcome back to another video on off-field antics and another edition of that FPL show. Game week 3 now. I am joined by Rod over the Discord. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. It was an interesting game week. How are you?
Yeah, it definitely was an interesting game week. You had the upper hand this week, and I think we should just start off with how you got on, to be honest. So I've got your team up here, Rod. You did it pretty well with 78 points. I feel like you jammed it a bit towards the end of the game week with that Luis Diaz goal. But other than that, very decent week.
I mean, it was sole brilliance from me as always. No, Luke Diaz 9 points came in huge because that did shoot me up a lot of ranks. Obviously, ranks this early on don't particularly matter because it's all so tight, but in the mini leagues it does, and it did take me first of our mini league, which is one of the most important ones, which I'm pleased about. I brought in Martinelli for this game week, and he returned 8 points, which is brilliant again. James obviously getting a goal, Nick in a bonus. Raya getting 7 points, huge. And then obviously Jesus, so it doesn't really matter. I've got a superstition where I hate captaining strikers, and it proved the exact reason why I'm not going to captain strikers from now on. Because Haaland only getting assist at Bournemouth is fairly annoying. So, yeah. But 78 points, mate. Happy. I have gone early this week. I have taken out Leon Bailey. I was surprised he was benched at the weekend, but I was only ever going to hold him until the Everton game anyway, so it's giving me even more reason now. And I brought in, it's an interesting one, but he has got 3 goals in 2 games. It's Rodrigo from Leeds.
Yeah, I think it's a very solid pickup. A guy I was looking at, but I just really wanted to bring in Martinelli. So spoiler alert for my team, but yeah, definitely really good value in terms of his price. And how much did you pick him up for?
Obviously, he's going up again tonight, but I did get him for 6.1. I lost 0.1 on Bailey. So essentially, I got him for 6.2, Rodrigo. But I'm happy, mate. I think he's on penalties. Obviously, 3 goals in 2 games. His confidence is going to be high, and he has got Chelsea next, which I don't think is as hard a game as people think. So maybe he can get me some in, but it's not to worry if not.
Yeah, and from what I've seen of Leeds, they definitely look like the signings that they have made have really made an impact on their squad. Obviously, we'll talk about the fixtures now in a minute, but he's looked like a different sort of beast under Ted Lasso. I mean, under Bielsa, he was kind of a different role where he's trying to play him in that number 10 role. It didn't quite suit him, but he's kind of playing off the right-hand side now, and he is scoring goals, like you said. But yeah, like you said, again, a really solid week, I felt like. I think we both made the same mistake in captaining Erling Haaland, but I finished on 69 points this week, a little bit off you, 9 points. Made up probably with the Luis Diaz and Martinelli. I have brought in Martinelli for this upcoming game week. I've taken out Marcus Rashford, as despite him actually having good value for a Marcus Rashford, the United team just isn't there just yet. And I think it's going to take a while until I really trust United enough to bring in, another asset of theirs. I think the fixtures they have going forward look really tough, and to pick a winning game for them, it's going to be quite hard. And the players and the price of their players, the value is not really worth it just yet. Up front, we had Jesus and Haaland together, so I think that's what most people had going into this game week. Like I said, taking out Kane, I knew it was going to be a mistake because I could guarantee he would score if I took him out, and Haaland absolutely did nothing besides the assist. Mo Salah went blank, so did Saka. So it really wasn't ideal for them, but kind of really happy in some of my defensive choices. I think Trippier has been really solid for me in this early start of the season. Picked up 14 points in the 2 games he's played. Cancelo's been really good, and as has Diaz. I think Diaz is one of those picks who, if you were looking to go with a double City asset, he's definitely worth it. Him or Edison, it's kind of the choice. It's kind of difficult, but I've gone with Diaz just in case he can get those goals. I was talking about David Raya picking up a clean sheet against United, something that we weren't expecting, but 7 points, really big. And it was 7 points I really wasn't expecting. I had Danny Ward on the bench, and I'm kind of glad I didn't pick him after the absolute shocker he had against Arsenal. The only bench player I wish I would have had in my team was Nico Williams, and I'm a big fan of this Forest side since I've started watching them play, and he looks like a different player to what I've seen of him in the past. I'm really excited to see what he can do in the Welsh squad now in the Winter World Cup. But yeah, overall, I think we've both had quite solid game weeks. I feel like I've kind of I've closed the gap a little bit to the top. I'm now only 9 points off you, and I kind of had a shaky game week one, as did you, in all fairness. But I feel quite confident going into these next couple of game weeks. I don't know where you want to start first, Rod. Did you maybe want to take a look at some of the other big hitters in fantasy? Or did you want to go straight to the games which went down on the weekend?
I think we dive into the games, mate, because there were some crackers, and I think there's no better place to start than with. I wouldn't say the game was a cracker, but obviously Aston Villa, we managed to get the win.
Yeah, I thought we was only talking big games this weekend.
Oh, it was a huge game. It's actually the best game in the Premier League. But I think I predicted 1-1 on last week's show. I wouldn't even say we were particularly great, but I thought Buendia changed the game when he came on. I thought he was absolutely fantastic, and he has to start. And Gerrard did come out and say that he was very close to starting the start of the season, but he picked up an injury quite late on. Coutinho was woeful, but Ings, fantastic finish. That's what you need in a striker. Brilliant finish. I thought Everton were poor again. I thought they were poor. Gordon up front does not work, diving all over the place. Everton are crazy to deny a 45 million bid from him from Chelsea. But yeah, Buendia come on, worked well with Watkins. Watkins assisted him. Great little move, and we came away with a 2-1 win.
I fucking hate Watkins. He denied that Bailey assist towards the end.
Oh, yeah, I remember that actually. It was a sitter. That's what he needs to improve on, but I can't see it happening. One really disappointing thing of the game, Carlos, I think he's out for 4 or 5 months now with a ruptured Achilles, which I'm not too sure how long that takes, but I'm guessing 4 or 5 months, so we probably won't see him this year in terms of calendar year. But yeah, mate, 2-1. I'm happy, but I'm not convinced.
Yeah, I think all in all, though, I think the fact that the World Cup is coming up, it kind of suits you now with that Diego Carlos injury, because you're going to gain basically free time. He's not going to be missing Premier League action for. But I'd like to say that I think I might have been wrong on him, because from what I've seen of him in the past, especially like in Europe, I really don't watch La Liga unless it's like a really big game and it's, televised here in the UK. So that's very, not very often. But for me, I think he's been absolutely amazing since he come in. I think he shows a lot of character in defence. He kind of owns his own sort of job, and I think that's something that Mings has kind of shied away from, and probably why he's lost the captaincy. But in terms of the game, Rod, I think you're right in terms of Buendia coming on and he has to start the next game. But you touched on Coutinho, and it kind of reminded me of what I was thinking during the game. And I think I put it in the group chat that this system just doesn't suit Coutinho. I think he's not really a number 10 like that. I think he can play a bit deeper in the midfield three and, drive forward with the ball. But I think his best position is probably coming off that left-hand side where he's got a lot more room. I think it's kind of sad to see him being a bit misused, in my opinion, by Gerrard. And I do think it's interesting to see what's just going to happen in the future now with him, because he's kind of like one of your marquee signings and he's such a big name. Is he just going to be put straight on the bench for Buendia? Because I think it's kind of an interesting one. I think in terms of performances, Buendia definitely deserves a start. But it's definitely a tough one still.
Yeah, mate, that's the thing. We're quite a versatile squad now where we can play different formations, but Gerrard is set with his 4-3-3. And I thought Watkins and Ings did work quite well. So I think Buendia is likely to come in. I'd say for Coutinho. It's a clear and it's obvious choice because he has been poor the last 2 games. But Gerrard has got a thing where he picks his favourites. I do want to give a shout out to Mings, though. I thought he was good against Everton. I thought he did everything right. I just wanted no nonsense. Don't bother trying to play football because you're not great at it. Do what you're good at, and there's basic defending. And cleared every ball, won his headers, and made some last-ditch tackles. We did look shaky from set pieces, but we did concede a bit of a stupid goal.
Yeah. No, go on, sorry.
Yeah, but 2-1, we needed a win at home. It's going to lift the squad a bit, and hopefully into our next game against Palace, which is a very tough game. We've got a bit more confidence.
Yeah, I think in terms of FPL though, I think it's quite interesting with Villa because Watkins has always kind of been the go-to guy just because of the amount of chances he can kind of create for himself sometimes with his like great athleticism, his ability to spin defenders. But I'm kind of wondering about Danny Ings because he's proven that when he gets a chance, he can really take care of it and put it in the back of the net. But he's kind of one of these players who does something outrageous like he did on the weekend, but then will go missing for like 3 or 4 games. What sort of stance are you taking on Danny Ings in terms of fantasy?
I think he's the cheap option at 7 million. Brilliant finish on the weekend, absolutely fantastic, and that's what he's good at, putting the ball away. But he can go missing. Watkins does the legwork really well, and obviously he's strong, a bit more mobile maybe. But Danny Ings he's quite fast and he's good at finishing. Hopefully those two can form some sort of partnership. But Danny, to be honest, I don't think I'd touch any Villa players in fantasy at the moment.
Yeah.
I was obviously at the start of the season, cashed Dean at 5 million, which I don't mind, but we look shaky. But if Wendy can maybe lock down his position, I think at 6 million, I think he's an option. I was really excited to see Bailey, but unfortunately, I thought when he did come on there, I thought he was good.
Mate, he's electric, man. To be honest, he is the most positive sort of player in your squad in terms of when he gets the ball, you know he's only going to go forwards, and he's so quick. And I mean, he's proven him that in pre-season he can finish as well. So I'd love to see him get a run in a game because I don't really want to get rid of him because that 5 million he's so cheap, and that if he could get a run in the team and solidify his position, he'd be a great option. But we're gonna have to wait and see what kind of happens with him. On the Everton front, I think you're kind of right. They look kind of shocking in terms of they just don't know what to do when they got the ball. I felt that they looked lost a lot. I think Gordon gave him quite few, decent outlets. I remember the one where he was sprinting against Mings and kind of left him in the dirt. But yeah, I think they're looking a bit shoddy. I think when Onana came on, they looked a lot better despite him kind of making a mistake, which led to the goal. But it's going to be interesting to watch for them because I think defensively they are going to look a lot more solid in the weeks to come with the likes of Cody and Tarkowski, bonding that sort of partnership at the back. And it looks like they are going to go to a 3 at the back more permanently now with them. In terms of FPL assets, there's one who I like, and that's Patterson, I think, at 4 mil, really cheap. And he looks to get involved in the play. But in terms of football, man, they're in big trouble because I think in terms of the midfield, I think Onana looks like a good pickup. But they haven't got anyone else in there who looks like they're going to really dictate the play for them. And up front, they're just missing a striker badly. Gordon's doing his best, but he's so sort of frail for me to be playing as a number 9. It looks like Chelsea have gone in now with a bid of around 45 million. And if I was Everton, I'd be taking that and running because he's very overhyped in my opinion. I like him as a player, but I don't think he's £45 million worth.
Yeah, mate. I thought Onana, when he did come on, I thought he was very, very good. He did impress me. But yeah, you're completely right. They just look idealist going forward. They don't really have a plan. I think Onana is going to solidify their midfield. It looks like Dele Alli's off to Turkey. Mate, I don't know. They were shit. Luckily, we were less shit. But
yeah.
They didn't look great, mate, and they've just got no really. I don't know where the goals are going to come from, to be completely honest.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting watch to see what Lampard can do because I know a lot of people shit on him, but he did do a really good job with Derby, and then when he took over Chelsea without any budget, basically, I thought he did a great job bringing through the youth. So it's going to be interesting for sure. Which game do you want to move on to next, Rod? Because I'm going to let you dictate what we talk about today.
I think next, mate, we've got to move on to one of the most shocking results of the weekend, and it's your team. I want to hear your opinion.
What game's that?
The Birmingham City Watford 1-1 game.
Right, Brentford 4, Manchester United 0. This was shoddy. I think there's a lot of talking points from the game. I think the way set up, as I can look up to my TV now, and I just saw Josh De Silva put one past De Gea. I guess we should probably start with the first goal. I thought United looked good for the first few minutes. In all honesty, I thought we were getting onto the ball. I couldn't really understand why Ericsson was getting booze. He came to the club on a free, and I thought he did a good job for them. He's only offered a 6-month contract, but yeah, it just went to shit very quickly. De Gea with the first mistake from the Josh De Silva goal. It's really not defendable. But at the same time, goalkeepers make mistakes. Maybe he makes them too many times, but he is the number one goalkeeper at this moment in time. And I felt like we had to move on from that, but instantly you could see the impact it had on the squad. They're just very soft and fragile. As soon as anything goes against them, they tend to, give up. What was the second goal? The second goal was De Gea passing it to Ericsson, wasn't it? And Ericsson basically got bullied by Jensen. And yeah, that was an embarrassing goal to score. But still, I feel like you're 2-0 down within, the first 20 minutes. No need to just get on the ball and control the game, and they didn't do that. I think the third goal was Martinez getting bullied at the back post by Ben Mee. I think
what happens when you're a midget?
You can't say that word. It's actually an offensive word. We go with little people. He's a little person. See, for me, I don't think there'd be a problem with his height if there was maybe a different centre-back partnership. I think if Varane was playing alongside him, we'd probably play with a much higher line and we'd be less likely to be hurt by those sort of situations. But people are going to target him, and I think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Ten Hag does with him, because he's obviously a player he wanted. He paid 60 million for him. If he's going to play him at centre-back, I felt overall, besides the goal, I felt like he had some really good sort of moments against Tony where he was kind of, really putting Tony off. There was long balls coming in and he was holding his own physically. And I don't think we've seen a big enough sample size to, say it's going to hurt him in the long run. I kind of like the idea of him at the back. I think he looks very solid on the ball, but we're going to have to wait and see. But yeah, I think people are going to complain about the height of him, and that was probably the cause of the Ben Mee goal. It was scrappy nonetheless, and the fourth goal was probably the best goal of the game, and the only one real goal where it wasn't from necessarily an individual mistake. I think people are having a go at Luke Shaw at the back, and I don't think he had a good game at all in either game week so far, but I think blaming him for that goal where it's just a one-on-one pace battle against Mbuemo, can't really blame him for that. I think up the other end of the pitch, Harry Maguire was so slow the way he came back. He was so high up the pitch, and everyone was up the pitch, and we just got caught. And after that, it's just disgusting, to be honest. I think we're in really bad nick at the moment. I'm not sure what game we're actually going to win. I think if you actually look at United fixtures, they're really tough in terms of, on paper, even if it's a game you probably favour United in, it's against a team or away, and it's just fixtures I just dislike. Obviously, we've got Liverpool coming up, but after that, it's like Southampton and Leicester away, which are definitely winnable games, but they're tough places to go. Then we have Arsenal at home, then Palace away, then Leeds at home, City away, Everton away, Newcastle at home, Spurs at home, Chelsea away, West Ham at home, and then you away. I just look at every game, and maybe it's just because we've just lost 4-0 against Brentford away, but I really don't see a winning game in there right now, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting to see what happens for the end of the window, what sort of players we can bring in, because I'm sure there's going to be signings. I'm just not sure they're going to actually be the ones that, as fans, we want, and as Ten Hag, as the manager, wants.
Yeah, mate, it was a shocker from De Gea. He's cost you the game, essentially. He's 2 goals. He can't be giving it to Ericsson there. That's absolutely crazy. Just clear your lines. You're already 1 down. And then, obviously, De Silva, shocker as well. I just think, I was surprised, mate. I saw the first one. You just knew as soon as the second one goes in, it could be a few here.
Mate, the first one you knew was in trouble, though. You could see the mentality.
Yeah, exactly. You just see the way it was going, and mate, I'm nervous. I'm not nervous for you. It's just interesting because, like last year, United are going to be a team to target in fantasy. And it's just crazy.
Counting whoever's playing against him.
Exactly. You made some good signings, obviously new manager, new philosophy, but the whole culture at the club is wrong. It starts at the very top, and I don't think you can blame some of these players. You can't blame the manager, the coach, and staff. That it's just you start at the top, and that's all wrong, and that's going to filter through to the playing staff. But mate, it's not a great time to be a United fan.
I know. It was a while back, but not anymore. Going through the ringer right now, but I was just going to touch on Harry Maguire. I know he gets a lot of criticisms, but I think he was kind of proven not to be a United captain this weekend when it was De Gea, the one coming out and going, look, I just want to apologise to everyone because I blame myself for this result because I made the mistakes. And I think, fair enough, you made your mistakes and it did cost us, but I don't blame him solely. You never get Maguire coming out after a mistake, or I don't even think De Gea should be going out there after the game. I think he should have been going out there and taking the criticism and apologising to the fans. And it's just a tough one, man. Like you said, the club is kind of fucked from the top to the bottom, and people go, well, the Glazers spend money and all this and that. But look at the business we've done. We've brought in, a free agent and 2 signings, and they weren't even done in time. Look, Lisandro Martinez wasn't even able to start the Brighton game because of, he wasn't brought in time. I just feel like you look at the other clubs, the clubs that are, run well, they've already got their business done. And it's us who are the ones looking desperate right now, trying to scramble up anything we can get. You look at the players we've been linked with. I think the best player we've actually been linked with in terms of one of these late signings is Icardi, and he hasn't been proven to be anything in like the last 5 or 6 years. So, you're looking at Arnautovic and Rabiot. It's just mudded right now. I think it's going to take a long time. I think this Liverpool game is going to be a really interesting one because of the form they're in as well. And I think whoever wins that game might be able to pull themselves out of this kind of rut. But for the loser, it could end pretty badly. Which game did you want to touch upon next, Rob?
I think, mate, we go into a team which I'd say have surprised me, to be honest. I think they've started well.
That's an Arsenal-Leicester.
Exactly that. Jesus, I think everyone, that's why he's at 77% owned fantasy. Everyone's got him because at 8 million, he's going to be, that's very underpriced for a striker who's going to start and has pedigree. And made 19 points on fantasy. He's absolutely smashed it. And 19 points is just huge, mate. One game and getting obviously 2 goals and 2 assists is crazy, contributing to each of the goals. And overall, mate, they look like a good team this year. Obviously, Leicester, I wouldn't say it's an easy game, but it's an easier game. A game they would have thought they would have won, but still, you've got to go and do the basics right, and they did. So beat Palace the week before. As a fan, you'd be happy. I didn't think they just look confident in the way they play, to be completely honest with you, and they've got some good games.
I think after watching All or Nothing so far, I think there's been 6 episodes. I've watched all 6, and I think you can kind of see where they're going with the squad. Obviously, they know the target of what sort of players they want to bring in, and it's kind of translated on the pitch in terms of they want that sort of youthful energy and, that togetherness. And I think it's kind of ringing out through the Arsenal fan base now, and they're all, set on one goal. And I think this season is going to be one of their best seasons in a very long time. I think, Arteta as a manager, I still question in terms of what he can actually do. I think he copies a lot of what Pep does, in all honesty. I think, you look with the inverted fullbacks and stuff like that. But overall, I've been really impressed with them. I think their style of play is, I think it's of an Arsenal-esque. I think you look back through the years and you think of one of the best playing football teams in the country. Even when they weren't a good team, it's always been Arsenal. The goals they've scored over the years with, the likes of Giroud, Aaron Ramsey, Jack Wilshere, those sorts of players. And now you're starting to see a really nice style of play come through. I think Jesus has looked absolutely cracked in the first 2 fixtures. I think he went missing in the Palace game, but I don't really blame it on him. I think it was a bit of a rough start for them in terms of the ability they were able to play to. But I think at home, they was able to kind of show their full sort of arsenal of weapons. And I thought Jesus looked on fire. but I think they've got a really good squad this year. I think the midfield depth might hurt them in terms of like that double pivot area, because I don't think you can trust Granit Xhaka, and I don't know what the situation is with Partey, but I'm surprised he's still fucking playing, in all honesty. But in terms of the squad, they look like they're going forward. I think they still look a little bit shaky, like they got a mistake in them. William Saliba with the own goal, and a bit clumsy at times, but, you know, so were Leicester. And Danny Ward, for a goalkeeper who I actually like, he hasn't made the best claim for the number one shirt at Leicester since the departure of Kasper Schmeichel.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Obviously, they're about to lose Fofana to Chelsea, which good signing. There's just something going on at Leicester. Obviously, I'm not too clued up on what's going on, but there's been some outgoings, and see, they did get that draw against Brentford in the initial game, and then obviously they lost to Arsenal. But
yeah, the draw's looking a lot better now, isn't it?
It is, mate. To be fair, actually, thinking about it,
they threw it away. They was 2-0 up.
Oh, they were. Sorry, my bad. I thought they managed to claw it back.
No,
but there's something going. There's something going on at Leicester, because you hear it on obviously social media, and then you see some of the transfers, and obviously, I mean, they've got Ricardo Pereira, who's out injured. If he'll come back, he'll go out injured again. And they're quite weak now in defence. Obviously, Fofana is going to be a huge loss for them. Great player. I'm surprised he was at Leicester, to be completely honest. There's been talks all transfer window about Tielemans. There's been talks about Maddison. And yeah, I don't think they were ever expected to win at Arsenal. But 4-2, conceding 4 goals, I think they're going to cede a lot of goals this year.
To be honest, with Leicester, I would actually like to see them just probably put the brakes on, probably have this season as a write the season off, because, you know, last season wasn't necessarily great for them. I'd like to see them maybe, you know, employ a new manager. I think if they could go out and get someone like a Graham Potter at some point, that would be superb for them, because I think they've been a team who have been really competitive ever since winning the league, and they've been knocking on those European sort of doors, you know, the Champions League, and they've competed in Europa League over the past couple of seasons. I think if they could maybe sell some of their talent, which they've got at the moment, because it looks like Tielemans doesn't really want to be there, I think you could get a good fee for James Maddison to Newcastle, and for Fofana to Chelsea. You've got a big budget then, because I know the fans are kind of upset with the fact that they haven't been able to go out and sign players so far this window. But I think if you get a new manager with maybe a quite different philosophy, the amount of players that you can go and sign with the budget that they've got, they could really overhaul the squad, because they've still got some really good players in there. I really like Luke Thomas at left back. I think he's a decent player. They still got Ndidi in midfield, and in terms of striking options, they've still got Daka, Iheanacho, Harvey Barnes, who I really like, and still got Vardy. I think there's players that they could go and look for and bring in for cheaper prices, because they've proven that they could do it in the past. And they could bring in a huge sort of profit. So I'd like to see something like that happen at Leicester. Obviously, it probably wouldn't go down well with the fans now, but I think in the future they could probably set themselves up to be even bigger than they are right now.
I think they've got a rebuilding job on their hands, to be honest, mate, if they do go ahead and do go down this route. But see, Leicester have been, in recent years, they've been quite good. They've been progressing, but now in the last couple of seasons, they've been regressing slightly.
Yeah. I think that... Oh, sorry.
So obviously clubs such as Newcastle, hopefully Villa, are going to be looking to obviously take the positions Leicester have been taken up, and I kind of think from about 6 downwards, I think it's just up for grabs. Anyone could finish there.
I think
which makes
4 downwards. I think 4 downwards is definitely competitive for anyone, because I think a lot has been made of Chelsea, and I think they look quite decent on the weekend, but I still don't trust Tuchel. I don't think United are really going to be quite competitive this year in terms of the European places. I wouldn't be surprised to see United finish anywhere from 12th to maybe 8th at a push. It's going to be quite tough, but I feel like you're kind of right with Leicester. They've been on that journey where they've, you know, improved each year, and now it does feel kind of stale. I think last season I kind of gave them a pass in terms of they had those injuries with the likes of Fufana, and I think Evans was out for some time as well. And you saw a Martin and Didi playing as a centre-back partnership. But now they're not really making the strides that you're kind of used to seeing with Leicester, because they're always going in and signing these players that, hardly anyone's heard of, and they end up being, a really valuable asset for them. And that's kind of been put on the back burner. They're kind of sticking with the squad that they've got. So it's definitely interesting times at Leicester. I thought you'd probably want to move on to there's 3 games I'd like to talk about still. I think City will give a pass because it was against Bournemouth. But I'd actually like to go to the Forest West Ham game, because for me, I loved this game. I thought it was full of passion, and it was great to see, the Forest fans in attendance. And for me, it was a different Forest side to the one I watched in game week 1 against Newcastle. I watched the whole game against Newcastle, and I thought they looked kind of lackluster. I really didn't have a vision. And in this game, it's completely different. I think you look at the squad as a whole, I think Nico Williams looks like an absolute phenom at right wing back for them. I didn't know that he had it in him, but he looks like an absolute player. Dean Henderson showed his worth in goal, getting him on loan, saving the penalty and a couple of decent saves as well after that. And up front, they look like they've got this new sort of vision with Awanoe, the ex-Union Berlin striker. His movement was insane. He ended up getting the goal, but it was a bit of a scrappy one. But they created some decent chances for him. But for me, that midfield is a really good midfield. Lewis O'Brien and Orel Mangala, I think it is, in midfield. I was just super impressed. All their signings look like they're sort of fitting into that squad. And West Ham aren't an easy team. I think, City made West Ham kind of nil and void in the end. They kind of kept the ball away from them, and that wasn't the case in this game, and I felt Forest deserved the win.
Yeah, actually, I didn't really watch this game. I watched it in segments. From what I have been told, obviously I saw the goal. Forest did quite well to defend, but I do think on a different day West Ham come away with a win. I heard they created a lot of chances. But Forest are going to be pleased, mate. First game at home in the Premier League and against a good team, and they managed to win, obviously, 1-0. And, mate, the roar at the end was absolutely incredible. Lovely ground. But, yeah, as a Forest fan, you'd be pleased, and hopefully they can build on this and see what they can do, because obviously they've brought in some new signings. I'm trying to remember that. Dennis from Watford being one of them.
Yeah, they brought in Doucouré from. No, is it? What's Sheikh? Sheikh Kouyaté, that's the one. Yeah, and for me, their signings are really exciting. They basically got a whole new team in some ways. Obviously, Scott McKenna and Joe Worrell are the 2 mainstays from last year's championship run, but Brennan Johnson coming into his own into the Premier League, and that was a player I was really excited to see in the Prem this year, because as a Welsh fan, it's going to be a big ask at the World Cup, and it's kind of exciting to see the 2 Welsh lads in the Forest squad, making a run of it and doing really well. But yeah, like I said, it's basically a new squad. Lingard, I didn't think he had the best of games, but I think with time, he can offer goals to that squad, and I'm a big fan. I think from top to bottom, they look really solid. I think they still need a bit more depth, especially up front. But with the Dennis signing, that's a great one. I think they had to bring on Sam Surridge, and I'm not a big fan of him, in all honesty, but it is what it is. But for me, it's great to see Forest at home in the Premier League, and I can't wait to see what they can do in the future. Last 2 games, we've got Liverpool, Palace, and Chelsea, Tottenham. I think we should start with Liverpool against Palace from last night, because I think it was not last night, sorry, Monday night. It was a bit of a shocker for Liverpool, coming home in the Premier League, Anfield, and just really didn't perform. I felt even when Diaz was still on the pitch, Nunez was still on the pitch, they were just spamming crosses. I know they do that a lot, but the creativity looked a bit lackluster, and I think that comes down to the midfield. I thought Harvey Elliott looked decent, but you're playing a James Milner in there in the Premier League when you're trying to be a championship winning team. I don't think it's the way to go.
Yeah, That's 4 points dropped from 2 games for Liverpool now. Mate, it's not a great start. It's not what they thought they were going to get off to. Nunes losing his head, obviously getting sent off, big blow, especially with all their injuries.
He's a fucking idiot because
he
he's let his team
was
down, and he's let himself down because they've got good fixtures coming up. And what an idiot!
Anderson got into his head, toyed with him.
So good. The way he hits him in the mouth, he goes, fuck it, I loved it.
Usually Zaha's in that position at this time. It was Anderson. But, mate, overall, I haven't been impressed by Liverpool, to be completely honest. I thought maybe Fulham was just a one-off, obviously. Fulham just newly promoted. But Palace, mate, they look like they're up for the fight this year. They look like, mate, they're improved again. They've got a style of play. Vieira's done very well so far. Obviously made some good signings again. But as a Liverpool fan, you're going to be disappointed, mate. 4 points dropped in 2 games. And obviously United next, and that game for me could go either way.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. But yeah, in terms of Palace, I felt they deserved what they got in the end. I think they had times where they looked mustard, and then other times they looked absolutely shoddy. And in particular, Eze, I think he had one of those games where 1 minute he looked on fire, and then the other time he couldn't string together a 5-yard pass. And, you know, when he's ticking, he is going to be a player because he's one of those players who can, you know, just out of nothing create something. And, you know, to have him fit for the entire season this year, hopefully he could be a really, like a real star player for them. I think, if I'm correct, I think they played a fullback against Arsenal, so they moved to a 3-back against Liverpool, and I think it worked really well for them. I think at times they did invite pressure, especially when they went down to 10 men. Liverpool, I felt that they could have, you know, turned it up a notch, but they were kind of under the cosh for the rest of the game. They had their chances to win it as well. Late on, I think it was Wilfred Zaha hitting the post, and I like Palace, man. I mean, I kind of had blind faith in Vieira when he came in last year when me and Danny started the channel and we were talking about it, and I was saying he was a Vieira hater, and I was just going off just faith, I think. But he's actually making Palace a really intriguing club for the future, and, you know, for the fans, they must be, you know, so excited because the sort of talent they've got in that team. Obviously, they kept hold of Zaha, and now with Eze and Elise being, you know, kind of led into the team, they've got a really bright future. And I think Anderson in these first 2 game weeks has been absolutely outstanding for them.
I think he's a fantastic centre-back. His ball-playing ability is fantastic. And Vieira has brought a new culture to the club, and, mate, they're doing really well, and I am not looking forward to playing them this week.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game for you lot. I think we should probably end on the most fiery match of the weekend, Chelsea against Tottenham. I felt like, you know, Chelsea really deserved the win here, and they kind of threw it away.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Both managers obviously getting sent off. I think the referee performance was a shocker. Romero got away with murder, but as a Spurs fan, you'd be absolutely loving it, managing to get something so late on. But I think Chelsea should have won it. They should have done better and seen it through. But when luck is not on your side, luck is not on your side, and the Conte-Tuchel scrap at the end was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it was. In terms of the game, I feel like Chelsea really showed that they do have quality going forward, which I didn't think that they did. I think Kai Havertz missed an absolutely massive chance at one point in the game, and I think he kind of proved that you can't rely on him as a centre forward for the entire year. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can maybe go and get the Aubameyang deal, because I think under Tuchel he's played for him before at Dortmund and they had a really successful time together. But yeah, I thought Chelsea looked good, man. I think Koulibaly proved once again that he's a really solid player. I think you made a good point about Romero getting away with murder. I don't mind it, in all honesty. I think it's fair game. I think if it's there, you should grab it. But yeah,
he's a shit. I love it.
I love him as a centre back. I actually think he's phenomenal. I felt that goal they conceded, the Reece James goal, it was a tough one, right? Because Dyer's got dragged in and they've kind of left Ben Davies all by himself, and, you know, well deserved. But Harry Kane to nick it after everything was just so typical for my FPL. After bringing in Haaland and getting rid of him, he goes and does me dirty. Um, I think the sending off for Conte was a bit harsh. He's gone to walk away and the other guys grabbed him. I don't understand how he's been sent off for that.
I think it's just failing to handle themselves. They've had a shocker. It's been brilliant. I don't know what the crack was with who held on to who, but when Chelsea scored that second goal and Tuchel sprinted up the touchline, obviously that was Mourinho vibes.
Mate, he just did that to get in Conte. But did you see Conte? I think it might be on Instagram. I think he said something like, "Lucky I didn't see you because I would have tripped you up" or something like that.
It's just so funny. That's what you love to see, and obviously sharing the points. I think as a Spurs fan, you've got off with something there. As a Chelsea fan, you'd be gutted.
Yeah, and I think for Spurs, this was a really off day for them. And I think the fact that they got a point away at Stamford Bridge just shows everything that Conte has kind of brought to the squad. They've got more belief. They're more of a unit. Despite playing badly, they come away with a point, which is a really hard game against Chelsea. I think Chelsea will be gutted because I think all 3 points were on the table for them. I think, if Havertz scores that goal, I think it's game over. So it's a really unfortunate one for them. And I think they're probably right to be upset with the decision that, kind of led to the goal, that nothing kind of happened with Romero. But for me, I'm not too fussed about it. I don't think it's... Is it violent? I don't think so. I think it's... I think if you're going to have a stupid haircut like that, you kind of deserve to have it pulled. But what did you make of the Graham Souness comments after the game? Obviously, he says, "Oh, it's a man's game. We like to see this." And honestly, probably get cancelled for this, but I'm not big enough to be cancelled. I think it's being taken out of proportion. I think everyone wants to feel offended nowadays. I don't think he was saying it in a way that only men should play football. He was kind of saying it in a way it's a game for grown-ups, and we want that sort of fieriness in the Premier League because it makes it what it is. And I kind of hate it when people go after someone because they're waiting for any little slip up, and I didn't like it personally.
I think Souness he makes some weird comments in every context, and people interpret things completely differently. Everyone has their own perception and the way they understand things. And if you want to be upset by something said, you're going to be upset regardless of how it's said. So I think he's free to say whatever he says, but you can take whatever he says out into so many contexts because he makes a lot of silly little snide comments or comments which people interpret weirdly. But yeah, I think it was a good London derby, that's for sure.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Yeah, it's just sad. I feel like the times we're living in because you got to be so careful with what you say because any sort of slight hiccup and you're kind of toasty out here. But looking at the fixtures, Rob, we got some really interesting ones this week. And, I think the 3 o'clock kickoffs are kind of underwhelming in terms of name value, but you got some really interesting ones there. The week kind of kicks off at 12:30 on a Saturday, like every week, with Tottenham taking on Wolves at home. I honestly see this as a one-way sort of show. I think Wolves have shown that they can be explosive on the counter-attack, but really don't have that sort of the backbone, in my opinion, to be a team who are going to go away and constantly pick up points. So I'd probably go with a 3-0 Spurs win here.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. They're at home. Wolves haven't really impressed me this year. I'm going to go 2-0 Spurs.
It's the type of game that I wish I had Son in for because I think it's the exact sort of opponent. He cuts in on his right foot and scores one here. Then we move to Crystal Palace, Selhurst Park, taking on Villa at 3 o'clock. Your team. Interested to get your thoughts because obviously we're talking about Crystal Palace and you're saying that you're quite impressed with them and kind of a bit underwhelmed, I guess, with Villa so far at the start of the season.
Oh, 100%, mate. I usually look forward to the weekend, and I was really looking forward to the season. 2 game weeks, I'm not particularly impressed, and obviously losing Carlos, who was going to be a huge player for us. I'm not looking forward to this, mate, especially away at Selhurst Park. I think 2-0 Palace.
Yeah, I think you're. I think you're being a bit harsh on Villa. I don't think they've been great, but I do think away at Palace, you put up a bit better of a fight. I think it'll probably be 2-1 in the end. I think Palace do have that a little bit more togetherness. I think when watching Villa, you do have a lot of the ball, but you don't really do a lot with it. And I think Palace, when given the chance on the ball, they look like a bit more of a fluid side and they can create chances a bit better. So I'm going to go 2-1 Palace. Move on to Everton against Forest. I really like this game. I think, it's at Goodison, which tends to give Everton a bit of a boost. And with the fact they're going against a Forest side coming off such a great result, I think it's going to be difficult for them. I think it's going to be interesting to see if they can get any attacking opportunities and what sort of things they can create, because they've looked a bit lackluster up top so far. For me, I'm going to go with a Forest win away from home here. I think this is a perfect place to pick up from the West Ham win. And I think you're going to see a 2-0 Forest win.
Yeah, I'm with you here, mate. This is a game on paper, which is an all-time Premier League great game. I do see it being quite even, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Obviously, Everton, that home advantage pushed them all the way to safety, and I think it's going to be vital in this game again. So I am going to go Everton 1-0.
Yeah, I think you make a good shout at that. It's at Goodison. I just wonder how long is that going to boost them, and with the lack of quality. But it's going to be an interesting one for sure. Fulham against Brentford. A bit of an interesting one in terms of Fulham picking up a 0-0 draw last time out with Wolves and Mitrovic missing a penalty. I think Brentford are more of a side which are going to punish them more than Wolves. And it's going to be an interesting one because I've been impressed with what I've seen from Fulham, especially against Liverpool. But Brentford really impressed me with the way they was able to kind of manage the game against United. I'm going to go with Brentford to win. I'm going to go... I don't know if they get a clean sheet. You know what? We'll go 2-0 Brentford and hope that Raya gets us the 7 points. So yeah, 2-0 Brentford.
So, this game, I think if you showed me at pre-season, I would have said a boring 0-0 draw, but I've been impressed by both sides, to be completely honest with you. Fulham have impressed me, Brentford have impressed me. I did have Brentford to go down at the start of the year. I mean, obviously it's too early to say, but they are looking decent.
You want to release a new video?
New predictions. I'm going to go 1-1.
Fair enough. I think it's going to be a close game, I think. Leicester against Southampton. Personally, I think Southampton have got a chance here. I don't think they've been all too impressive, but I think with what I've seen from Leicester, I think they've got a really good chance here. I think Leicester aren't the team that they used to be, and they're making mistakes that they're not they weren't making before. It's going to be if Southampton can put up a good defensive shift, because I do believe with Maddison and Vardy, there are going to be chances for Leicester. But I'm going to go 2-1 Southampton. I think Aribo gets on the score sheet once again, and if Southampton could put some form together, he'd be an asset I'd be interested in, because I think with goals from midfield, he's going to bring that all season long for Southampton.
You're completely right there, mate. I think Aribo, he does look like a decent little player, to be completely honest. In this game, I haven't been that impressed by Southampton. They've had a couple just sparks. Leicester haven't really impressed me, but I'm gonna go 1-1.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm kind of interested with Joe Aribo. I followed him for quite a while. I think it was like League One playoffs. I think it was I can see the badge in that, but I can't think of the team. Charlton Athletic, and him and Lyle Taylor were kind of the leaders in that team. So I'd be interested to see what he can do now at Southampton. Bournemouth against Arsenal, 5:30 kickoff. Hopefully we'll be in the pub by then, Rod. Get in on it. But I think Arsenal run them over. I think, if you look at the Bournemouth side and where they can maybe give them problems, I'd say up top with Kiefer Moore. I think from what I've seen of him in the past with Wales, he's got that ability to make the game a bit uglier and, just find something out of nothing. So, other than that, I don't rate him too much. I'm going to go with an Arsenal 4-1.
This is an interesting one because I think Bournemouth, obviously low block. It's going to be interesting to see if Arsenal can break it down. They are at home, Bournemouth, so I think obviously they're going to just look to what they did against Villa, utilize Kiefer more,
Yeah,
hold the ball up, lanky off him. But they're going to look. It's going to be a low scoring game, I feel. So I'm going to have to go 2-1, 2-0 Arsenal.
fair enough. We move to Sunday. Kick things off with Leeds against Chelsea. I actually love this game. I think Leeds at home, the atmosphere is going to be really good, and I think with what they've shown under Jesse March, aka Ed Lasso, I think they've shown that they can be an interesting team going forward. Being super impressed with Brendan Aronson. I think he's a player who is probably destined for a top six team in the future. I could see him, if Leicester were a top six team, I could see him fitting in quite nicely there. I think he's been at the heart of basically everything that Leeds are doing. I think he's probably going to continue to be that. And like you said, bringing in Rodrigo against Chelsea, I think he's got a goal in him against them. And, Chelsea, I think this is where they're going to struggle this season, away from home, when they're going to, have to find a goal from somewhere. Who's it going to come from? We'll have to wait and see. I'm actually going to go with a Leeds win here. I'm going to go 2-1 Leeds.
I like this picture on paper. Obviously, I brought in Rodrigo, so I hope he does something. And last year we saw that Leeds put up a real fight at Ellen Road against Chelsea when they were not on it all season. So I think the crowds they play a huge part in results. And obviously we finally got that home advantage back, what we missed during COVID. So we had it last year, of course, but it's just nice that it's back forever, you hope. But I do think Chelsea probably just come away with it, so I am going to go 2-1 Chelsea, but Rodrigo's going to score.
Yeah. West Ham against Brighton. Brighton, man, I like them as a team. West Ham really haven't gotten to the best of starts. Same as United, they're on 0 points from 2, from 6. But I think at home, I think West Ham should be able to get some points here, despite Brighton being really impressive. I think it's probably going to come down to individual sort of performances here. I think West Ham pick up a 2-1 victory.
Interesting. Brighton. I think Brighton do win this game. I know West Ham have a horrible record against them. They have just signed Thiago Keira from PSG, versatile defender, so he can fit all across that back line. So it's a good signing for them. Probably likely to play, I imagine. But I think Brighton, they're just impressive, mate. They've lost some big players, haven't really upgraded too much, I'd say, and they're doing okay. So I'm gonna go 2-1 Brighton.
Yeah, I like Brighton. I just think West Ham at home, 0 from 2. I think they've got to get something here, and I think they will with the home crowd behind them. This is a really interesting game for me. Newcastle against City, the only teams to not have conceded a goal so far this season. And despite me thinking that City could get the ball here and kind of hold on to it for a while, I'm going to go with a ballsy pick. I'm going to go 0-0. I think both teams keep their 0 goals conceded. I just think Newcastle are such a good team this year. I'm really impressed with what they've done. I've watched both of their games now. I think they keep it. I think it's going to be a real tough game, and definitely City could, take control of the game. But at the same time, I think they can hit City on the break. But I'm going to go with 0-0.
I actually, I said at the start, I think City are going to walk the season, and so far they have. I actually see this game being a 2-0. City have a good record against Newcastle in recent years.
What was that, sorry? 2-0 City?
2-0 City, yeah. I think obviously they're improved this year, Newcastle, but I just think City just look flawless, and they've strengthened where they had to strengthen. Obviously, bringing in a left back in Sergio Gomez as well for a bit more depth, like they already needed it. But yeah, I think 2-0 City, mate, and I'm happy. I'm happy this is the televised one at 4:30.
Yeah, I think it's a good game. I think the fact that it's Newcastle at home really makes it a good game, because I think if they was away, they could probably get turned over here. But I think being at St James's, it's going to be quite a competitive one. Moves us on to the final game on Monday night. I find this one really hard to pick. United versus Liverpool. United on 0 points, Liverpool on 2. If United win this, they actually go ahead of Liverpool, which would be super interesting to see. I think in my head, I think Liverpool create enough chances to probably win this one 3 or 4-0. But there's something in my heart telling me that United actually get a win here. I don't know what it is. I think Liverpool are a dominant force, but I feel like this season you shouldn't be scared of them, and I think you can take the game to them and beat them. Whether United can do that or not, I think it's going to be important to see who scores the first goal. Because I think if Liverpool do, the heads will drop from United, and I think with all the protests which are going to be happening on Monday from the United side for Glazers out and that could have an effect on stadium capacity. We'll have to wait and see, because I'm sure the fans who travel from around the world aren't going to want to leave the stadium, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to have to go with my heart. I think United actually get a win. I'm going to go 1-0 United.
You see, this is a game which I see it can go either way. Obviously, there are meant to be a lot of protests, which I'm sure they can prepare for in advance. But Liverpool haven't impressed me. United haven't impressed me. I'm likely to be captain in Salah, though.
Yeah, same. I'd like to talk to you about that.
That could change last minute, but yeah, Salah is likely to be my captain. I think I'm going to go 2-2.
Okay, yeah. It's definitely an interesting one, because if Liverpool would have beaten Palace, I think all would be different. I think we'd all be going Liverpool to win quite comfortably. In terms of my squad, for this upcoming game week, my team is, I brought in Martinelli for Rashford, and I've actually benched Bailey. I've gone with a 5-back. I've gone with Nico Williams this week, alongside Diaz, Cancelo, Trippier, and Trent. Right now, the captain option is really difficult. If I was to do it right now, I'm actually going to go with Gabriel Jesus. But that's a bit of a hard one for me, because Salah's record against United is actually really, really good. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him, keep that. The other captaincy option I'm kind of interested in is João Cancelo. I think against Newcastle, of course they can concede, but I think at some stage in the game quite early on, I think they get quite a good foothold and they're able to take control of the ball.
Sorry, mate, my mind's literally gone blank for a second.
It's all right. I just wanted to know, like, with your team, you said that you brought in Rodrigo. Is he just a straight swap for Rashford?
For Bailey, mate.
For Bailey.
Got rid of Rashford last week for Martinelli. And my plan was to get rid of Bailey after Everton, but I had in mind that he was going to play the Everton game. And I was a bit shocked when I didn't see him starting, because he was probably one of our better players at Bournemouth. But he's very much a formation-based player, and he can't really adapt to the 4-3-3, because obviously he's an out-and-out winger. But yeah, I've got in Rodrigo. I'm set up basically how I was last week, but instead of Bailey, I've got Rodrigo. Still not many changes. It's very template based, but obviously as the season goes on, prices go up, prices go down. There is going to be more differentials, and people are going to have less similar teams. But it's obviously early days, like we had last year, where we had the outstanding players in Salah, Bruno, who you had to have, and then obviously later on people were getting Kane, etc. So yeah, I'm hoping just for another high-scoring week, likely to be Captain Salah. If not, I'm on Captain Cancelo.
Yeah, so I think Cancelo is a good option. I think I'm probably going to go with Gabriel Jesus. I think it might be a bit of a differential one. I'm not too sure. I think most people are probably going to go with Salah. And I do feel like they can score goals against Bournemouth, so it's going to be an interesting one for sure. But thank you for watching, guys. This was our Game Week 3 episode. We'll be back next week for Game Week 4, maybe a transfer video. We'll definitely do one on the week of deadline and the week after, discussing who we thought won the transfer market in the Premier League. But as always, thank you for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. And comment below letting us know who you're captaining for Game Week 3. Until next time, peace out.